Once again, very good morning. Today we are going to start a new concept, that is security. As a database administrator, we need to protect our SQL server. So we need to protect our SQL server means in case of application team may ask us to grant the permission and what level of permission. So what level of permissions we need to grant to the SQL server so that we can protect. So once you as a database administrator and once you install SQL Server, once you create a database, our application team will start inserting the data or modifying the data or deleting the data, and they are performing certain kind of activities. But so how you are granting, how you are protecting our data means by granting right permission to the right team, by granting right permission to the right team where you can protect your data. So what kind of permissions we can grant the application team, and what kind of permissions we need to grant the developers, and what kind of permissions we need to grant the testers. So at different level of permissions to protect our data which is available in the database. So that is the major activity as a database administrator. We need to protect our data. So discuss about security part. We have couple of components like authentication modes and roles and schemas. So authentication modes and roles and schemas, SA account, logins and users and Windows account and SQL accounts. So these are a couple of components where we need to remember. So granting the permissions is very easy, but understand the concept and what level of permissions and we have and we want to grant to the certain user, whether we need to grant the Windows login and we need to grant the SQL logins, how to the our phone users. Couple of activities very important. So when you are working with security part and when you are working with the security part and you remember, right, everyone remember when you are installing SQL server and there will be window called server configuration. Under server configuration we have two authentication modes. One is Windows authentication mode and mixed authentication mode. So because we are install multiple times, right? So when you are installing the SQL server, I told you already, no worries about the server configuration authentication modes, server configuration authentication modes. So we are going to discuss in the security part today. Today we are going to discuss that part. So first, let me start with securities. When you go for securities and when you go to the securities, there are three level of securities. SQL level, one is a SQL level, one is DB level, one is object level. So entire SQL level and you are going to grant the permission. Only specific database you are going to grant the permissions. Only specific object you can grant the permission. So when you go to the security level, so three levels, what are the entire instance you can grant the permission to the specific database, and we can grant the permission to the specific object, and you can run the permission. So what is the requirement, whether you need to grant the entire instance level or DB level or object level? So that's what we're going to discuss. So when you're supposed to grant the permission, think about what kind of request it is, what kind of permission I need to grant. So see, someone may ask you directly, hey, can you please grant the permission so and so on database? So what permission we need to grant? So and so on, I can grant the permission to the database, but what permission is accepting? But he not mention specific permission. In case you need to interact with requester who request that request, right? You need to ping him and you need to ping her or and ask her or ask him what kind of permissions you are accepting on this specific database. So first you need to get the information and you need to grant the permissions. So entire SQL level permission or database level permission or object level permission. So entire SQL level permission. So that's what I need to mention here clearly. Server level roles and database roles, schema level roles. So what level of permissions they are accepting on the specific object, specific database, entire instance. So how many levels we can? Then three levels. One is instance level and DB level and object level. So when you start granting the permissions, the major thing is the authentication. Either I need to create the Windows logins or I need to create the SQL logins. So we will discuss. So two types of authentication. Even when you installing the SQL also, already I show you, right? There are two authentications: Windows authentication and mixed mode authentication. And which authentication mode I need to prefer to SQL server. So we will discuss that one. Now before I go into the security part, you need to know couple of concept means like built-in administrator, like built-in administrator and service account and domain account and active directory and system admin. Okay, base level information, not that much. Okay, built-in administrator accounts is nothing but whenever you install your operating system, right? Whenever you install operating system, by default you will get it built-in administrator account. Built-in administrator account is the first account will be created when you install Windows operating system. When you install Windows operating system, first you will get it built-in administrator account. That is the first account you will get it when you install the your operating system. Next is the service account. So we already discussed a lot about the service account, right? The service account which we are using the run the SQL services, that account which we are running the SQL services will technically will call as a service account. So it is a login only, but technically we are calling as service account because we are using this service account to run the SQL services, right? No worries. We will create the service account in clusters, and I will show you how in real world and how they are creating service account, how they are granting the permissions, and how we are running the SQL services, SQL service server. We will get it no completely in the cluster environment. So that I can configure the domain controller, right? In cluster, I will build the domain. So your domain and your active directory is the brain of your complete your organization. Any project, sir, takes any project, take any company, and take Infosys or take IBM or take TCS, any company, any project, and Exxon Mobil or HSBC or ICICI Bank or SBI. So take any project also. Your active directory is nothing but brain, which contain the complete infrastructure related information, computer information, and printer information, and scanner information. So webcam information, and your service account, your service accounts, logins, and passwords, and everything will be controlled by the Active Directory, which is designed by the Microsoft. Active Directory is completely owned by Microsoft. It is the brain of your organization, means complete information it will store. Active Directory and domain controller actually. So when you go for domain, means again I'm telling, no worries. Active Directory we are going to configure, and domain also we are going to configure in on premises in Azure as well. How to create logins in the Azure Active Directory, and we are going to show you practically again. I'm telling, sir, every organization will get it Active Directory and will get it domain. Whenever you are trying to log in your computer, just passing your login name, but in real world you will pass some domain and username, domain backward slash username. Your domain, every login will get it backward slash before that. We will get it one name that technically you need to call domain controller. Every organization and every login and every computer, it is a fully qualified domain name. Make a note. Your computer will also contain the domain, and your laptop will also contain the domain, and your printer also will contain the domain name. Your ACs also will contain the domain name. Not a regular ACs, smart devices, smart ACs will contain the domain in the real world. Webcams there are containing actually your Active Directory, and your Active Directory team will maintain the will control everything the access. So along with our service account, our logins and our passwords will maintain completely from the Active Directory. It's a directory which contains the data related to the computers and laptops and logins and service account and passwords and printers. So in normal, this is my laptop, which is not part of any domain, which is not part of any Active Directory. All your computers or laptops are a traditional laptops, regular laptops, but we are planning for clusters, right? To build the clusters, all servers should be part of domain. When I go for run, suppose when I go for run sysdm.cpl, here we can see your computer name, right? This is the traditional server, which is not part of any domain. But once you are configure Active Directory, once you configure a domain controller, will include all these servers that can be part of a domain, so that you can control your security and you can control in a real world. In real world, there is no USB is compatible. You will agree or not? When you want to do, sir, don't keep your pen drives so hard disk in your official laptop to copy some data. Don't do that kind of mistakes, because it is more secure your laptops, and they are auditing by default. All your USB will be disabled. So all the policies they can control from the domain controller directly. So because any organization lakhs of peoples are working, so how they control? Tell me. Infosys also around 2 lakhs people, 2 lakhs employees working in, and IBM also 3 lakhs employees are working. How they are control? All these securities means with help of Active Directories, with help of domain controller. Getting my point, right? So Active Directory and domain controller are human brain, like how your brain will work. Your complete Active Directory will also work, because it contains the computers and the printers and the laptops and the usernames and the logins and passwords, right? So every policy and security policies will be available from the Active Directory level, and everything you can controls. Try to make note, when you are working with the real world, every login must and should contain the domain, and we are also the domain. Here are some of the shortcuts, and NA North America, and SA means South America, South Africa, and EA Europe, Asia, and AP Asia Pacific. So we have different servers, and we are maintaining each servers can part of different domains, different domain. By seeing the domain also, you can easily recognize this part is this server is part of this location. NA is the North America, and SA is the South America, EA is the Europe, Asia, and AP is the Asia Pacific. So whenever my server is part of domain, so AP is domain, then we'll come to conclude that this is the server available in the Asia Pacific. Either it is Singapore or Kuala Lumpur and Malaysia or Bangalore or any location. So whenever it is NA, and whenever server is part of NA means, and this server is available Boston and SA Dallas and EA Europe and Budapest. So by seeing the domain name also, you can easily conclude that this server is the part of so and so data center. So no worries about domain controller and Active Directory. We are going to configure in the clusters. Now system administrator and SA account. Whenever you are selected mixed mode, whenever you are installing SQL Server, right? When you select the mixed mode, by default you need to allow the you need to pass the SA password, right? Yes or no? So by default, when you are going to mixed mode, and you will get it one account called SA system administrator account, which contain the highest privilege and which contains highest permission means sysadmin. Say login will get it system admin sysadmin permission means, and you can do anything. If you have sysadmin permission, you can do anything in SQL Server. Anything, sir. You can configure high availability. You can stop, and you can restart. You can create. You can drop. You can do whatever in the you can do it in SQL Server. You can do that all activities if you are a part of sysadmin. Now you are configure log shipping, and you are configure database mirroring, and we taken the backups, and we have created database, we have deleted the database, and we have restored the database, right? So how you are performing all this? So whenever you install SQL Server, you will select and you added the current user, right? Yes or no? It will automatically, and your current user by default that account will get it the sysadmin permission. And whenever you are providing the login name and when you are installing the SQL Server SA account, by default this account will get it the sysadmin permission. If we have sysadmin permission, you can do anything from the SQL Server. Authentication mode, Windows authentication mode and mixed authentication mode, and you can call it as Windows authentication and SQL authentication. Two modes are available, and Windows logins and SQL logins, sir. Windows logins means your Active Directory people will create the logins for you, and we are just mapping the SQL server, and we are just mapping to the SQL server. When you are go for Windows logins, your Active Directory team people will create the logins for us, and we are just mapping logins into the SQL. But mostly we will try to encourage everyone Windows logins only. We never encourage the SQL logins because it is not that much secure. SQL logins, Windows logins are more secure than SQL logins. Means mostly we will try to prefer Windows logins in SQL Server. Either it can be production or development. Mostly we'll try to prefer Windows logins because it is more secure logins. It is more secure logins because that logins passwords will be maintained from the your Active Directory, right? Not from your SQL. Whenever you are trying to connect to the SQL server, whenever you are trying to connect to SQL server, this is my login. So where this login is created, Windows level, right? I'm not passing password as well. No need to worry. My login is more secure because my login and my actual login, my actual password will be maintained from Active Directory level. Don't need to provide any logins and any passwords when I connecting to the SQL. So I am securing my authentication. Windows logins are more secure logins because no need to provide my any password. Whenever you are connecting SQL server, but when you are connecting to the SQL authentication, here SQL authentication, you need to pass the password. SQL server will maintain the login along with the passwords. When you are maintaining the data, when you are migrating the data, someone easily hack your database because it contains login name, it contains the password, right? So that is the one of the reason we'll mostly encourage our application team to create Windows authentication logins because it is more secure than SQL logins. Because SQL logins will contains username and passwords in the master database will maintain the login details along with the passwords, but Windows logins and master database only maintain the logins, so should not maintain any passwords. Passwords will be maintained your Active Directory level. Only just we are mapping. Only we are mapping at the SQL level. We are not maintaining our logins and passwords in the SQL level. When you go for Windows level, but when you go for SQL logins and login names and password will be maintained from the SQL level. It is less secure. And one more, sir, please, very important. How many authentication modes are available in SQL? Definitely, they will ask you. Your answer should be Windows authentication and SQL authentication. That's it. So, and which is mostly we will use Windows authentication because it is more secure, right? Because we are maintaining logins and passwords in Active Directory level at the Windows level, more secure logins and mostly preferable logins. That is the one. And now one more question: what is the login and what is the user? And login is the instance level and user is the database level. Simple logic. If you understand this logic, security is the very easy. And non sysadmin, especially I am telling, if you are not having sysadmin means, then you need to worry about all this concept and whatever we are discussing. If you are a sysadmin login, if you are having sysadmin, No need to worry about all this concept. You can do anything from SQL. So that is the main reason why we are going to discuss. Means mostly 99% DBS will maintain the sysadmin. No others will grant this because we are not sure, right, what they will do. So that is the reason only DBA people will maintain the sysadmin permissions. So logins is nothing but instance level, user is nothing but DB level, and a specific database. If you want to do something, you will must and should create the users, and you need to grant the permission. Login is the instance level, and the user is the DB level. Now by default, Microsoft is provided some permission to us, and you no need to worry what permissions you need to grant, what exactly they are going to do. And see, already inbuilt, and whenever you are installing SQL server, inbuilt Microsoft provided permissions to instance level permissions to DB level only. You can select those permissions to grant someone, and you are going to grant the permissions only the roles which we are at instance level, and which are available at DB level permissions, and which are available at object level permissions. So free define whenever you install SQL server, and there are 9 roles. These 9 roles by default will get it by default. First is the sysadmin, and bulk admin, and DB creator, and setup admin, and security admin, and server admin, process admin, and public. By default, 9 roles has been created at the instance level. These 9 permissions are available when you install SQL server. By default, this 9 permissions will get it. So what permissions that user is accepting, you need to grant the permission. You need to grant that permission. So each role will have the unique permission, and each role will have some unique permissions. If you grant sysadmin permission, what we can do, and if you grant bulk admin, what we can do, if you grant DB creator, what we can do. So every role is having unique responsibility. So you need to remember these 9 roles: sysadmin, bulk admin, DB creator, setup admin, security admin, disk admin, server admin, process admin, public. So these 9 roles are available at SQL level, at the instance level. At the instance level, there are 9 roles by default. You will get it public when you will get it public access when you are creating a login by default. You will get it the public roles. Public means just you can connect to the SQL server. Just you can connect to the SQL. Apart from nothing you can do. If you have public permission, you can just connect to the SQL server. Apart from nothing you can do means you cannot create database, and you cannot alter database, you cannot drop database, you cannot take backup, nothing, sir. Just you can connect to the SQL server, and we can just to see the what objects are available in that object explorer. Apart from nothing you can do. If you have public permissions, if you have the public permissions, you can just connect to the SQL server. Apart from nothing else you can do it. If we have sysadmin permissions, you can do anything from SQL server, and it is the topmost privilege at the entire SQL server. Sysadmin is the topmost permission. You can do anything at SQL server level. You can create a database, you can drop the database, and you can configure high availability, and you can delete high availability, and you can insert, or you can update, you can delete, you can select whatever you want in the SQL server. You can do it if you have the sysadmin permission. By default, you are having the sysadmin permission. Till now, you have the SQL permissions, because whenever you are login, and you are giving, whenever you are installing SQL server, right? By default, that login will be get it sysadmin permission. So that is the reason you have been done from at least last 10 days, whatever you are done, right? Because you are a part of sysadmin, you can go and verify you are part of sysadmin. So that is why you are doing anything on SQL server level. You can stop, you can start, you can delete, and you can truncate, and you can do whatever you want if you have the sysadmin access. Assume you are not a sysadmin, then we'll discuss all these roles. You are not part of sysadmin, you want to do these certain activities, and we will grant require permissions, bulk admin, and DB creator, and setup admin, security admin, disk admin, and server admin, process admin. You will be require these permissions when you are not part of sysadmin. You need to know about all these roles. One by one, we'll discuss one by one. See, let me show. When you connect to the SQL server, there is called concept called security. Security is nothing but your logins. When you expand here server roles. See, I am having a bulk admin and DB creator, disk admin, process admin, public and security admin, server admin, setup admin, sysadmin. These are 9 defined roles. Will get it whenever you install SQL server. All the SQL server, whenever you install this SQL server, by default 9 roles you will get it. So if you are having sysadmin permission, you can do it anything on SQL server. If you are having only public permissions, you can just connect to the SQL server. Apart from nothing you can do means you cannot stop, cannot start, you cannot create, you cannot alter, you cannot insert, you can access the database. Just you can connect to the SQL server if you have the public permissions. Two roles will be clear, right? Now bulk admin. When you go to run this command, sp underscore help serve role permission, sp underscore serve role permission, bulk admin, sp underscore srv role permission, bulk admin. This is the procedure. When it is executed, so bulk-in administrator, and so this is the actual description. Bulk admin means bulk insert administrator is a actual description. And what you can do if you bulk admin, if you want to see what permissions, you will get it when you grant a bulk admin, and you can perform bulk insert. Apart from nothing you can do. If you are granting bulk admin permissions to any one of your application team, and he can perform only bulk insert, and he cannot do anything from SQL. If you are not part of sysadmin, forget about it, sysadmin, and we have sysadmin. That means you don't need to worry about all these things. Exclude sysadmin. So now I'm requesting, assume I'm application team, and I'm requesting you people, hey, I need to perform bulk insert. Can you please grant the permission? So what permission you will grant it, and what permissions you are grant the permissions, I can perform the bulk insert. You need to understand the logic. Now you almost good to security. What I'm accepting, and what permissions you need to, and what is I'm accepting. So assume I want to create a database, and what permissions you can grant. DB creator p underscore serve role permission DB creator. When I execute this, if you grant DB creator permission to me, I can create a database. I can alter the database. I can drop the database. I can take a backup, and I can restore the database. See, this many actions I can do if you grant a DB creator permissions. If you grant a DB permissions, so these are all the activities I can perform. Alter means I can rename the database, and create means I can create the database. Drop means I can drop the database, and expand means I can expand the database, and restore means I can restore the database. Restore means I can restore the full backup, and I can restore the differential backup, and I can restore the log backup as well. So when you grant the DB permissions, I can perform this many actions. Mostly will plan this permissions. Mostly will grant this permissions because, for example, I can give for best example. I'm a application team. I'm validating some data frequently every day, and every 2 days, every 3 days. I'm just validating. So to validate, I'm going to do right. So I'm going to create a new database. I'm not working on with the original database. If I want to create a dummy database, and that database I'm going to validate something. So every 2 days and every 1 day and every 3 days I'm going to do this. So if I want to create a database every 2 days and every 3 days and every day, I need to request to DBA team, right? So when I create a request, DBA team will take after some hours. DBA team will work some hours, right? It is not a crucial ticket. So we will work after some time. So it is getting delay. So if that scenario, your application team will come to you, ask us, please grant the permission to create the database. And we wanted to some validation by creating our own databases. In that scenario, we will grant the permission DB creator, and that is the one scenario. One scenario means your application team frequently creating and will grant DB creator permission. And one more scenario, and you selected one fresher and L1 DBA fresher. Can I grant L1 DBA for sysadmin permission? No, right? And L1 DBA, if I grant sysadmin means he can do anything from server, right? Yes or no? Yes, right? So what temporary for L1 DBA, I will grant a DB creator permission. He can create the database and he can alter the database and he can restore the database. Yes or no? Such kind of scenarios, I will grant a certain level of permissions, either L1 DBS or application team frequently creating databases. In that scenario, I will grant the DB creator permission. If someone is coming to you and first you need to get and what they're expecting, based on that, based on their expectations and what roles will fit that role, and you need to grant the permission. So application team is what is the actual request from application. In that you need to get it first. Based on that, you will grant mostly instance level will grant two permissions, only two permissions by default. Public by default, every login will have the public role. Now mostly we grant the two permissions. One is a DB creator and one is a security admin. Apart from nothing will grant. Mostly 98% people will grant DB creator and security admin. Rest of them we never use. Even I never use the permission. And bulk admin means and bulk insert you can do. And DB creator means you can create the database, you can alter the database, you can drop the database, and you can restore the database. All these activities you can do. And when you go for a disk admin, when you go for a disk admin, you can insert the disk. So you can insert the disk under what we can do, right? We can space. There are external store procedures. Even no one will use the this role. Okay, there are some external space is nothing but your store procedures, which is providing by Microsoft, which is install Microsoft inbuild a couple of space, sir. If you grant the disk admin, they can p underscore drop drive. So this kind of they can perform if you grant the disk admin. Because 99 100% I'm telling you will never grant this permission. We never work with the disk admin. So as a database administrator, we are just adding the files and we are adding MDF files and LDF files and moving the files. Apart from nothing, we are not touching anything in the external store procedure levels. These are all inbuilt external store procedures. We are not touching anything. So disk admin is related to the disk. That is what, okay, my understanding. But even I don't know what exactly, and that is internally core internally what is performing, but it is performing some SPs. These three SPs it is performing: SP drop drive, drop device, disk default, and add dump device. Now next is the process admin. When you discuss about the process admin, and if you we process admin is very simple. If you run SP Hutu, SP underscore Hutu, everyone knows about this, right? SP Hutu will display how many sessions are running and how many processes are running. So complete information. See in my instance, and there are 67 processes are running. If you want to, and you can see this process information, and you must and should grant the process admin permissions. If you are not granting process admin permissions, you cannot supposed to see all this process. If you want to see all these process which are running on the SQL server, you must and should get the process admin permissions, and you can kill the process as well. Suppose I want to kill 60 session, kill 60. If you want to kill 62, we cannot kill the. So if you want to kill 66, we cannot kill by one. It is completed, right? So if you having process admin, you can monitor the process and monitor the resources along with you can kill the process. These two things you can perform if you're having the process admin permissions, and we can kill the process, and we can see the process, and we can kill the process, and we can view the process. That is about our process admin. Now we can go for security admin. See, when you go for a security admin, so these many things you can do it if you have the security admin, and you can create the logins, and you can alter the login. You can grant the permissions. What permission you are having the that permissions only. Assume I'm having DB creator permissions, means you can grant a DB creator permission only. So what permission you are having, same permissions you can create over the login. So you can create the logins, and you can alter the logins, and you can grant the permissions, and you can revoke the permissions, but you cannot delete the logins, but you cannot drop, and you cannot delete the logins. The security admin role should not treat as a. I can prove you here. See, security admin role should be treated at the equivalent to this sysadmin role, because security admin like sysadmin, he is telling, but not like that. You cannot drop. So if you are having this security admin, you can create the login, and you can alter the login. Mostly security admin means you need to remember only one thing. What permissions you are having, same permissions you can grant it. No other permissions. Please assume someone having security admin, and DB creator means he can grant to the others. He can grant a DB creator only. Security admin means he can grant the security admin permissions only. He cannot grant any other permissions. That is the major disadvantage. And you can create the login. I can accept, but you can grant what permissions you are having. Apart from nothing else you can do. That is the major drawback. I'm not sure why Microsoft came up with security admin. You can grant the permission, sir, because L1 DBA can do, right. For L1 DBA allows them to create the logins, to alter the logins, and to create the databases, and to alter the databases, and to drop the databases, right. And one more thing, GUI and GUI, from GUI and from command prompt, both are different here. GUI something you cannot do, and from command prompt something you can do. Two things when you go for a security part. Again, two scenarios here. From GUI, graphical user interface, you cannot do. From command prompt, you can do that. This also should make note when you are doing practicals. Then you will get it. This all these questions can be clarified. So mostly focus again. I am telling mostly focus DB creator permissions and security admin. These two permissions very important in real world. Got it right? First we are focusing on instance level, and later we'll go for DB level, and then we'll go for object level. Then we'll go for a schema level, how to create schemas, and how to create our own roles. Then we will get it confidence. This is the server admin. When you go for the server admin, you can change the configuration of SQL server. You can restart the SQL server, and if you have the server admin permission, and if you're having capacity to stop and start the SQL server, and also you can change the configuration. Either that can be memory, and that can be max drop, that can be any other parameters. You can change the configuration of the SQL server. If you have the server admin permission, and if you're having server admin permissions, you can restart the SQL server, and you can change the configuration of the SQL server, like memory and max drop, and cost is parallelism and update statistics. Okay, whatever isolation level, whatever you can change it, the configuration of the instance level, you can change the configuration of the instance level. Along with, you can start and stop the SQL server. You are having the server admin permission. And last but not least, setup admin. When you go for setup admin, so if you have the setup admin permission, you can just to create the linked servers, and we can create the linked servers. No worries. And linked servers, know about linked servers. We have separate session for linked servers where I'm going to discuss when we can create a linked servers from command prompt only, not from graphical user interface. So we can create a linked servers for having the setup admin permissions. See here, and add drop configure. See, add drop configure linked servers. Don't get it confused. Setup admin permission means we can do some setup in SQL server. Wrong assumption only. Server admin means you can don't think you can do some setup in SQL server. It is a wrong assumption. If you have the setup admin permissions, you can create linked servers. You can drop the linked servers. You can configure the linked servers. And sysadmin means I'm going for one by one. Sysadmin means topmost. You can do anything from the SQL level. And public means you can just connect to the SQL server. Bulk admin means you can perform the bulk insert. And DB creator means you can create and you can restore. And disk admin means disk level changes. And process admin means and you can view the process and you can kill the process. And security admin means you can create the logins and you can alter the logins. You can grant the permissions. And server admin means you can restart the SQL server and you can change the configuration. And setup admin means you can create the linked servers and you can drop the linked servers and you can alter the linked servers. Just to remember one line word, that is too good. Just to remember one or two lines. Okay. Now can I go for a demo? Basically, in Windows 7 and Windows 8, when you were open computer management, when you open the computer management, here we can see local users and groups. Not sure why Microsoft remove this local users and groups from computer management. Earlier days, you can see local users and groups, and you can create the user from GUI, graphical user interface. So unfortunately, Microsoft remove that option from computer management. For that purpose, what we are going to do, let me create from command prompt. And command prompt, I'm going to create logins. Let me open run as administrator. Here you need to make some syntax. Net user username. I'm going for a John. Password is the John or the rate of 1 2 3 4 5 6. Click on add. So when you give here valid username and valid password, whenever you are a specific instance name, and you can follow some standards so that it will keep on working with same by same. It will become more stronger. And when you go open command prompt with administrator, and now I'm going to create a login in command prompt. I'm running the query. My login is created in AD level. I mean local computers and groups and users list. My login is created. Now I got the user. Now what I'm going to do? My login and my password now currently, and Windows is maintaining, right? Yes or no? This is my window login. Now what I am going to do means assume this login is a part of Active Directory. John is the part of Active Directory. Now I want to grant the permission to the SQL. Now what we'll do first, I need to grant permission to the instance level. Later I can do, first go to logins and right click on the logins and go to new login and go to search. Here Windows login, right? Just to search name John. Just check names. Now I got it name right. Now you are getting right. Here no need to pass any password. Make it note. Here I am granting the public permission. I am not granting any permissions. Just I am granting the public permission to the John. Okay. Here nothing I am giving. Just I am giving only public permission. Just created. Now my login is available. Okay. And we can double click on it. See what permission he having. Public permission, right? only public permission is available. Now one thing, and when you want to connect with Jan, if you want to connect with Jan, it is not possible because already we're connected with my login name, right? My Windows. So by default, it won't change by default. It won't change. So when you opening SSMS, here SSMS, when you connect to the SSMS, by default my username is coming. We cannot change here. Whatever the logins you are used to connect Windows same logins, it will automatically it will capture. We cannot change the login directly. To change Windows login, you can do one thing. So I'll show you practically. So this is my SQL Server Management Studio, and right click on it and shift and click on SSMS. Right click on it and shift. Here run as different user. When you go here, run as a different user, you can give login ID password. Just I'm logging Windows login only. I'm provided a password. You go on right click and shift and go to SSMS. I'm opening the SQL Server Management Studio with different user. Instead of login, what I need to do now? I wanted to connect Jan login. In case if you want to open, I need to disconnect here. Again, I need to log in right with Jan username. That is the reason I need to connect it with Jan, and again I need to open SSMS. It is very difficult to show you practically, and every time I need to disconnecting and log in. So that reason what I am going to do, and I have open SSMS SQL server with a different user, and I have press shift button and then and right click on the SSMS and run as a different user. That is the shortcut. Not only SQL server, and if you click on Google Chrome also, right click and shift and run as a different user. Not only SQL server, you can go any login, any application. There is the shortcut and right click on the application and shift and right click. You will get it run as different user. It is the best shortcut. Now click on the SQL server. I'm going for a default. Let's connect it. Now no need to provide any Jan username and password. And I'm opening SSMS, and when you authenticate SQL, it won't ask any password. And now we got one more SSMS with Jan user. This is Jan user, and this is my login. This is my login, and this is Jan user. This is my user. My user ID SSMS. This is the Jan user SSMS. Let me go for a side by side, then you will get it understand. I'm going for a side by side. Okay, whenever you are doing security practice, do the same thing. And now this is my login, and which is having a sysadmin access, sysadmin permission. This is the John who is having only public permission. And if you have the public permission, and that is the John login, right? John login. John is only having the public permission. And you have the public permission, you can connect to the SQL server, but you cannot do nothing, and just you can connect the SQL server. So you can try to expand the database. I cannot expand databases, and when I can create the database to demo purpose, I'm showing. So I cannot create a database as well. See, create database permission is denied. Okay, you cannot create the database, and if you want to delete, you cannot delete the database. Nothing, sir. Just you can connect. If you're having the public permission, just you can connect the SQL server. Apart from nothing else, you can make it sense. Can I restart SQL server? It is asking password. My password it is asking. You cannot restart SQL server as well. And do one thing, and double click on the John login. Here I am giving permission. Double click on the John username. Let me grant the DB creator permission. I am giving a DB creator permission. Click on OK. Just to refresh it here, go to securities, go to logins. Let me double click on the John user ID. Now he having a public and a DB creator permission, right? What he can do, and he can create the database, and he can alter the database. Yes or no? Let me create a database. Go to new databases and click on database name. Go to check names. Here I am creating database. Jan is able to create the database, right? You can read the database. Okay. You can rename the database. Let me rename the database to DB John. You can rename the database, right? and we can create the database, and you can read the database. I can rename the database, and you can take backup as well. Let me see, go to task and go to perform backup. You can take a backup as well, right? Let me, you can drop the database or not. We can check it. You cannot drop it database. When you go for a command prompt, when you go for this database, drop database name, drop database name. You able to drop the database via command prompt. I told you, right? And we can do it from command prompt. And now I want to create a login, sir. Just I'm creating login. See, I'm not able to grant the permission. If you are having a DB creator, you're not able to grant the permission to other users. Let me grant the access to John. I'm giving a security admin permission to the John. I have given the security admin to the John. Let me refresh it. Now Jan is having security admin permission. When you go to logins and go to new login, and let me create a new login. When you create login, Jan able to create login, right? And you can drop the login. You can do it, right? And you can create the login. You can drop the login. And now, and first of all, you are not able to see any database, right? See, when I create a new login, going for password, when I go for user mapping, I can see all the permissions, but he didn't. You don't have permission, right? And you can run the permission to others. Firstly, even you have the security permission also contains the permission to grant others. What permissions and what permissions you are having, you can grant the same permission. Try to understand the logic. When you go for security admin and what permissions you are having, same permissions you can grant to others. Apart from any other permissions, no, because see here, I'm able to see all the databases. Here not able to see all the databases, right? Because you don't have first of all permissions. How you can grant the others? Let me do one thing. I am going for John, and I'm going for John to grant AdventureWorks database permission. When I'm granting the permission AdventureWorks, and he don't have any permission to the AdventureWorks 2019. Let me grant the John to AdventureWorks 2016 permission. Go to properties and user mapping. I am giving AdventureWorks 2019 database permission. Just I am giving the DB public access at the DB level. Now see, now, and he can see the AdventureWorks means that permission, if you are having the same permission, you can grant to others, and we can clear the login, and we can delete the login, and he can grant the permission means, and what permission you are having, same permission you can grant to others. If I want to grant the bulk admin, and it won't allow to, if don't allow the DB creator, and because you are having a DB creator permission, right? Because you are having a DB creator permission, if you are having security admin permission, you can grant to the others, but apart from nothing, and we can grant the DB creator permission to others, and we can grant the security admin permission to others, but you cannot grant any other permissions. That's it. And let me do one thing. And when you run SP Hutu, here around I can see 71 process, right? 72 process is running. When you see in John login SP underscore Hutu, only one process he can able to see, that 59 is the John process. He can no other process, and we can no other process he can see. And if you want to see the process, and let me do one thing, and we have one more method, and activity monitor. Here activity monitor is there, right? You can see the all the process, and when you Jan is also nothing he able to see from activity monitor, until unless you have the process admin permission, until unless you have the process admin permission, you cannot access anything from activity monitor. Now let me do one thing, and let me grant the process admin permission to the John, and server roles. Here I am going to grant the process admin, and let me refresh it. I have refresh and go to run SP-O2. Now he able to see all the process, right? 75 process he able to see when I grant the process admin permission, and we open activity monitor also, he able to see all the process, right? Whatever I am able to see, and he also able to see all the process. If you are having the process admin permission, you can see how many process you are running from activity monitor level and from SP Voodoo, and we can kill the process and all these activities he can do. And let me do some configuration on instance level. Go to properties, go to memory. You cannot reconfigure the memory, right? You cannot change any configuration of the instance level. Now I want to allow Jans to change some configuration now. Now I am giving some permission. I am granting the server admin permission. If I go for server admin permission, I have granted Jan to server admin permission. Let me refresh it and go for instance level and go to memory. I'm changing some server level configuration. Now you can able to configure, right, and reconfigure instance level. If you are having server admin permission, you can restart SQL server. You can change configuration part, and you are having server admin permission. Now I want to create linked servers. No worries, linked servers we have separate session. Let me grant setup permission, and when you grant the setup admin permission also, and I told you, right, again I can create linked servers, and we can alter linked servers via command prompt, not from graphical user interface. Make a note. You can create linked servers via command prompt. Let me see what are the linked servers available. Go to server SQL server objects. Go to linked servers. See here one linked server is there. I have generated script. Let me copy this. Go to new query. I already told you, right? When I create linked server, getting some issue, right? Let me grant the setup admin permission to John. I have granted the setup admin permission to the John. Let me refresh it. I have refresh and close everything. Let me execute this. Let me delete this. Now he able to create linked servers, right? Now this is about the server roles. Nothing but instance level logins. And I explain again same concept, and here itself server roles to perform the server, and side by side means instance side. We have total 9 roles are available. That is the sysadmin and server admin, setup admin, and security admin, process admin, disk admin, bulk admin, and DB creator. So that is what I explain here. And now we are going to I have explained the same concept here itself. Server roles to perform the and servers side by side instance. We have total 9 roles are available. So that is a sysadmin and a server admin and a setup admin and a security admin and a process admin and a disk admin, bulk admin, DB creator. So that is what I explain here. And now we are going to on the database level. When you expand the databases, when you expand the database, here also security, and here we will get it users. When you expand this, when you expand the securities in instance level, we will get it logins, and when you will expand the database securities, you will get it users, and here roles and database roles. Here you are able to see the user, right? And till now we have discussed logins instance level, and we have database roles also, and we have server level roles. Till now we have discussed instance level roles like sysadmin and server admin, setup admin, and security admin, and process admin, disk admin, bulk admin, and DB creator. Total 9 roles are available at instance level. Same way, when you go for the DB level, there are 10 roles are available. Okay, and Microsoft mentioned here 11 roles. Only there are 10 roles, and DB owner, and DB data reader, and DB data writer, and DB access admin, and public DB deny data reader, and DB deny data writer, and DB security admin, DB backup operator, DB DDL admin. Okay, there are 10 roles are available at database level. If you want to do low permission to specific database, and they wanted to grant the permission and the specific database, what level of activity he was accepting, okay, that you can grant at the DB level roles as well. There are 10 roles are available by default here. Also public, you can connect to the database, and John is connect to the database, and you cannot see any tables, and AdventureWorks lot many tables here. When you go for John logins, and we cannot see any tables, but because he having only public permission, when you are having public permission, you can connect to the database, but you cannot do anything, and you cannot see anything from database AdventureWorks having lot of tables. See, in AdventureWorks lot of tables, right? But Jan having only public permission, he is not able to do anything, and just he connect to the database. Now DB owner is the topmost privilege at the database level. DB owner, DB owner is the topmost privilege at the database level. That is the database DB owner. If you want to DB owner, if you want to grant a DB owner for the database, grant the permission to that database. DB owner permission, you can do anything on the database, and you can do anything on the database means you can create the table, and you can alter the table, and you can truncate the table, you can create the store procedures, and you can insert, and you can update, you can delete, and run, and everything on the database. You can do it, sir, anything if you are having DB owner permission on the database, and you can do anything if you are having a DB owner permission. And sysadmin, you can do anything on the instance level, right? And DB owner means you can do it anything on the database level. On specific database, every database will maintain some roles. Every database is independent. There is no dependent, sir, independent. So on which database user want to privilege access, we need to provide them. So when you go for the database, we have 10 roles are available. One is public by default, and DB owner is the topmost privilege, and we can do anything at the database level. Now DB data reader, if you want to perform select statement means if you want to do perform read operations, and you need to grant the DB data reader permission. And if you want to grant DB data reader permission, select can read the data, right? DB data reader means, and you can perform the select operation. And DB data writer means, and we can write the data, and we can update the data, and we can delete the data. So if someone is asking, I want to modify the data, and then you need to grant the DB data writer permission. And DB deny data reader, and DB deny data writer means you are restricting the user to perform the select operation, and you are restricting the user to perform insert, update, or a delete operations, sir. If I performing granting the permission, if I'm not performing, and not granting the permission is good, right? Why again? Why I need to restrict the users? If you're not granting the DB data reader, then he never perform the read operations, right? Why again I need to go for deny? If you granting data reader, if you are granting DB data writer, fine, right? Why I need to have DB deny data writer permission? In that case, if you are having DB owner, you can do anything at a DB level, right? And if you are having DB owner, and if you want to restrict read operations, read permission, then how DB deny reader? And if you want to DB owner, and you want to restrict write permissions, now you understand why Microsoft came up with DB deny writer, data writer, and DB deny data reader. That is the purpose Microsoft came up with DB deny data reader, and DB deny data writer. Whenever we have DB owner permission, and you need to restrict some read write operations, we will go for these two options. Now DB DDL admin, you know about DDL commands, right? Drop, and truncate, and alter, and create. If you want to perform DDL operations, you can grant the DB DDL admin. You want to create some store procedure, and you want to alter store procedure, and you want to create views and functions and tables and structures, basically, and if you want to modify the structures, and then we'll ask DB DDL admin. This is for DDL, and this is for DDL. This is for DDL. this is for DML, this is for DRL, this is for DML. You know, right? 5 languages. We have 5 languages, right? Out of that, 3 languages. Now let me discuss first this one, backup operator. That specific database, you can grant the DB backup operator. If you want to, if you grant the DB backup operator, you can take database backups, and you can take backups, database backup on the specific databases. So there are two things again here, and DB access admin and DB security admin. DB access admin nothing but if you want to allow user to access the database, mostly we'll go for access admin, and we never grant this two permissions. Again, we never grant the two permissions. Again, I'm telling only two permission we can grant. There are topmost cases. This four will be grant DB level, and DB owner, and backup operator, and DB data reader, and DB data writer, and public by default it is available. And if you want to allow user to connect the database, and we'll go for DB access admin. So if you want to alter role, okay, create the role, alter the application roles, and create application roles, then you will go for the DB security admin. So you can create the user, and you can grant the connect permission. And if you are having DB access admin, and if you want to create the roles, and if you want to do alter the roles, and if you want to modify the roles, and you can grant the DB security permission. These are the 10 roles are available in the DB roles, DB level. In real world, mostly we will grant the 3 roles DB level, and DB data reader, and DB data writer, and DB owner, and DB backup operator. Each role you need to just to remember one line. If you want to read the data, you can DB data reader. If you want to modify the data, insert the data and delete the data, DB data writer. If you want to create alter DDL admin and anything over the database, and if you want to DB owner, and backup DB backup operator access, if you want to create alter DDL admin and anything over database, if you want to DB owner, backup DB backup operator, and access admin, and security admin, and DB deny data reader, and DB deny data writer, we never grant it. Mostly we perform only 3, DB owner, and DB backup operator, and DB data reader. That is about database level roles and permissions. And next session we'll go for practical. No worries. And thanks for watching everyone. That's it for today's session. Once again, thank you for everyone.